Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about the Colorado Buffaloes. I want to kind of do a review of the season and look at some statistics and talk about the team a little bit. But before I do that, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming to my channel. I want to thank you for subscribing, for liking, for sharing, for commenting on my videos. I really do appreciate it. And I'm absolutely amazed by the amount of traffic that I'm getting. It's astounding to me. What I have done is I have gone through the statistics for the team, and the picture I have up on the screen now is of the ESPN stats. I'll put a link to those in the description so that you can look at them on your own if you like. But I want to talk about the team a little bit. Shedeur Sanders played in 11 games. He didn't play in the last game, which they lost, but not by much. Shedeur was 19th in the nation and 5th in the Pac-12 in yardage with 3,220 yards, which was a record for Colorado. He was 13th in the nation and 4th in the Pac-12 in touchdowns with 27, 5th in the nation and 3rd in the Pac-12 in completions, and 3rd in interceptions thrown per game, tied for 3rd in the Pac-12 for total interceptions, 9th in the nation and 4th in the Pac-12 in completion percentage at 68.3. Those are impressive numbers. But what's even more impressive is he was 1st in the nation with 52 sacks. So, despite the fact that he was sacked more than any other quarterback in the NCAA, Shedeur still was a top quarterback. Now, I see a lot of people making derisive comments about Deion and about daddy ball and how he's playing his son. I've even seen people say that Ryan Staub is better than Shedeur. But the statistics do not bear that out. Shedeur is by far the best quarterback that Colorado has. Now, the offense was below average in total offense, but above average in scoring offense. So that's that's a positive to work on. The defense was 14th in the nation in turnover ratio. And the defense improved from dead last, 133rd, to 124th in total defense. And you know, with the stats that they were putting up in the early games, it would be hard for them to move much more up the line than that. So they did show improvement on defense throughout the season, and I think they'll show improvement again next year. Travis Hunter and Cameron Silman-Craig tied for 2nd in the Pac-12 with 3 interceptions. And Shiloh Sanders was number 1 in solo tackles in the Pac-12 and 22nd in the nation for total tackles. So all these derisive comments about daddy ball and how Deion is favoring his sons and playing them because they're his sons and not because they're good is just a pile of hogwash. Shedeur is a top-level quarterback. I suspect that next year he will be in the Heisman running. And if they get some good linemen in, he probably will win the Heisman because he's that good. And Shiloh is an excellent safety. So all these arguments about daddy ball and all that kind of stuff is just, to me, it's a bunch of baloney. Now I want to look at some of the stats that I've been maintaining on my own. Let's look first at rushing. If you look here, this is the up-to-date stats for rushing for the year, so this is complete. You can see that Dylan Edwards had the highest rushing average of any running back on the team with 4.22 yards per carry. I see comments constantly that Dylan is too small, that he can't run in the middle, that he should be used on the outside, so forth, so on. Dylan Edwards has the highest yardage run of 34 yards of the entire team and has the highest yardage average of the entire team. This is rushing average now, not passing average. This is rushing. So to make the argument that Dillon is not a good running back or that he can't run in the middle is belied by the statistics. The statistics say that Dillon can run the ball and has run the ball successfully. The second highest average is McCaskill, but he only ran 14 times and he redshirted, so he'll be running next year. But the next back who was used a lot is Hankerson, and Hankerson had more carries for less yards than Edwards did. So everybody talks about how Hankerson was so great and how Hankerson and Savion Wilkerson should be the backs that are running, but neither one of them had as high an average as Dillon Edwards. So how does that make any sense to you? Wilkerson only averaged 3.58 yards per carry, and that's including the games, all 12 games that he was in. I mean, it's just, these arguments are not based on facts. They're based on feelings and opinions and something other than information that makes a difference. Now, this is the reception yardage, and I don't think I have that up to date because I know Xavier Weaver had more yards than that. But that's strange. I don't know why I didn't update Xavier's. I think I updated everybody else's, but not Xavier's. But anyway, he didn't quite make 1,000 yards, which is unfortunate. But I think he'll be going to the league this year, so they'll have to find replacements for him, and maybe next year Omarion Miller will step up and play better. He didn't do real well in terms of carries, in terms of receptions for the number of times that the ball was thrown to him. He had that one fantastic game that he played, but then after that, he just kind of cooled off. So Weaver will be gone. Horn will probably be the number one receiver, I suppose, or Hunter, Travis Hunter, one or the other. Maybe Travis Hunter will be number one receiver now. But they'll need to find another receiver, and I know they're signing some, and they've got some in the works. Down at the bottom here, you can see that Ryan Staub's QBR was lower than Sanders, and Sanders, of course, had 11 games. Staub had 2, and his completion percentage was lower. So he didn't do a bad job. I think he did well during the game that he played Saturday. But he's a freshman, and he's got a lot to learn, and he'll play behind Sanders next year, and then he'll be the number one quarterback in 2025. And he should be, because he's a good quarterback, and he'll improve as he gets more experience under his belt. Now, if you look at the games that they played, you can see that for the season, they averaged 70.65% of the time passing the ball. That's just too high. That's too high. They need to pass more. And I know that Deion said that in his last press conference, that they needed to run the ball more. And I think they will next year. At Kent State, they ran the ball 53% of the time. At JSU, they ran it 56% of the time. I'm sorry, they passed the ball 56% of the time. So both at JSU, where Deion was coach, and at Kent State, where Sean was a coach, they ran the ball more than they did this year. And I think the reason why they didn't run the ball more than they did, I think, is because they didn't feel like they could run that well. Now, with Dillon's average, I don't think was that bad. So I think they could have made more attempts than they did, but they just didn't make very many attempts, except for a couple games. They had 27 rushing attempts against Washington State, and 29 against TCU, and 31 against USC. And all three of those games they either won or were very close. So to me, if they start running the ball more, if they get a better line, and they can open holes for the running backs and get some big gash plays like have been gotten against them, they should do better. So I think that they're going to do better next year. It depends a lot on what they get in the portal and what they get in recruiting. We'll just have to wait and see. But if Deion is telling the truth when he says, wait till you see what we're getting, then I think they'll be fine next year. They'll have a much better defensive line, much better offensive line, and the end result will be that they'll be a much better team. Now I want to watch a video here, and I want to ask somebody a question after we watch this video. Is that a catch or not? Watch it again. His hands never move. The ball never moves. How could they call that an incompletion? I don't understand it. I think Travis Hunter was robbed twice yesterday of touchdowns. One when he was running down the sideline. I do not believe he ever stepped out of bounds. If you look at the replay, you can see that he did not step out of bounds. And on this play, he clearly caught the ball and did not bobble the ball, and the ground didn't help him with the reception. He caught the ball. And I'd like someone somewhere to explain to me how it is that Travis Hunter didn't get a touchdown on that play. Now, we're going to look at a little bit of this press conference from Deion and see what he has to say.
Yeah, but you're looking to do some things right now, like, well, what we need for Shedeur is we know where to find it. It ain't hard to find. Thank you. Thank you.
What does this foundation look like to do in the past?
Well, it's a little shaky in certain areas, but we're certainly headed in the right direction. We're certainly trending forward. We got our butts kicked twice this year out of 12 games. I mean, kicked twice. That there was no win in those 2 games. Every other game, other than that, we had a shot, and I think that's progress. You was here last year, right? That's progress, right? Okay.
That's true. The biggest thing that killed them this year was mistakes and penalties. They were one of the most penalized teams in the league, in the NCAA, with one of the highest penalty yardages in the NCAA. And you can't, those hurt you badly. Penalties hurt them in this last game. Penalties hurt them in a lot of their games. And that's something they're definitely going to have to clean up, and I look forward to seeing if they manage to accomplish that next year. Sometimes coaches are not very good at fixing penalty problems. Sometimes they are. We'll see. But that's part of the problem that they have.
Two-part question. You made a big change in offensive.
My man, I'm sorry. My man, what's up, boss? How you doing, sir? I'm sorry, there's royalty in the house, man.
Now, there's the place.
That's much more clear. Because when you say it like that, it comes out different nationally, right? I don't know.
There's a place in here where he talks about running. I want to see if I can find it.
I'll just see what's right ahead. So, at the beginning of the season, I kind of saw right a corner. I think I kind of forewarned you guys at the Oregon game. So you better get us now, because I know what we have in house. I know what we don't have. I know what we're liking tremendously. And that was a prelude to some things that kind of fell apart, as well, that they really dominated our weaknesses. But I love everything that transpired. I could not grow if I didn't go through what we've gone through. I could not prosper if I didn't glean from what transpired this season. I could not be who I am if I didn't have these tasks at hand. I'm truly thankful. This is not the first challenge I've had in my life, but I know how I finish. I know how this is going to end. I promise you, I know how this is going to end.
Any other questions?
Coach, you mentioned Coach Mo and how important the next couple months are going to be for him and the strength staff. I mean, what during his time here have you seen that gives you so much confidence in his abilities to get?
I'm not going to just single out one coach. We're not going to do that.
No, just the strength coach in general, the strength coaching staff in general. What gives you so much confidence that they can do what you need them to do over the offseason?
Well, everybody's going to be evaluated. How about that? Every coach is going to be evaluated. Not just let's slow down a little bit and let's get evaluations for not just players, not coaches as well, including me.
Do you feel like you have the resources?
There are rumors that Warren Sapp will be joining the team next year. I'm not sure in what capacity. I mean, if it was me, I would make him the defensive line coach because I think he's fantastic. But of course, he's never coached before, so he may not be able to do it. We don't know, but I certainly think he can teach the defensive line some things. Maybe he'll be a consultant. I don't know, but we'll see.
To succeed at the level we expect.
We're getting there. We definitely need giving. You know what I mean. It's unfortunate to say this, but some kids cost. It's unfortunate to say this, and I have not charted this yet, but I've asked for the numbers. But if you start thinking about the top several teams in the country, let's see what was spent on assembling the teams. You know, we can sit up and talk about great coaching and great this and great that all we want, but it's gonna be a credit card swipe some kind of way with all these guys going to these playoffs, right? Right. And I understand that. And you got to have a quarterback. If you look, commonality, players, quarterback, run game, they can stop the run. That's pretty much what all these pretty darn good teams share.
When you compare the situation when you went into Colorado football and coming to now, even after a loss, how do you describe or how do you feel about the mentality of those kids in the locker room?
Tell me, what do you mean by mentality?
How did they approach ending the season, even though it's
Well, they wanted to win, but they've won. If you were here a year ago, or if you saw kind of what we came into in the spring, they won. They won. Maybe not on the scoreboard week in and week out, but they won. And we got to build off the things that they've been tremendously successful with. We had a chance to win that game. I like that. I really like that, especially without our quarterback. I like that. Especially without some things that I know we're going to get commitments from in probably about 10 days. I like that. I like what we are. I really do.
This being the last Pac-12 game in SEC football history,
Mm-hmm.
how was your experience in year one of Pac-12, and what message would you have for the Big 12 next year?
I don't get messages, but the Pac-12 was tremendous. I think the thing that people underestimated about the Pac-12 is if you have a good quarterback, you got a chance. And I don't know too many Pac-12 teams that don't feature a darn good quarterback. And oftentimes a team that can run the football. So the people that made a tremendous jump, they got stability at quarterback, and they were able to run the darn football. So this is a tremendous conference that I hate to see abandoned or gone, or whatever word is proper for what's transpiring. And I can't wait to get to where we're going, because that commissioner is a phenomenal human being, phenomenal friend, and I know what he's going to bring to the table, and I know what we're going to bring to the table, and I'm happy that Rick George made it happen. Tremendously happy.
So I'll put links to this as well in the description so you can look at it and watch the whole thing if you desire to. I want to go back just a minute to this chart and take a look at the games. And you can see that they had a total of 4,473 yards, both rushing and passing, for the season. I suspect next year it'll be much higher than that because they will. That'll probably be the yardage that Shedeur gets through the air if he stays healthy. And I would imagine their rushing yardage will increase dramatically as well, because with an offensive line that can block both for running and for passing, they will perform much better than they have. I haven't looked at the numbers scoring for and against, points for and against, but I'm certain, without even looking at them, that they're much better than they were last year. Last year they averaged, in their losses, they averaged losing by 29 points. Most of the games that they played this year, they lost by a touchdown or less. Yes, they got blown out by Oregon, and yes, they got blown out by Washington State, but the rest of their games they were competitive in. And they were not competitive in any of their games last year. So overall, the team has improved dramatically over the previous year. They could have had more wins than they got if they had done some things right that they didn't do right. But, could-haves and would-haves don't get you the victories. So they've got a lot of work to do. There's no question about that. They've got to find linemen for both sides of the ball. They've got to replace some people that are graduating that have been doing a good job. But they've got the core for a good team. They've got a great safety in Shiloh, another one in Cameron Silman Craig. They've got a great quarterback in Shedeur. And they've got some good receivers, Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn. Just those two alone, a lot of teams would like to have. So overall, I wouldn't call their season a success because they only won 4 games. But I would call it a success over the previous season for sure. And we'll see what they do next year. If he follows the same pattern that he followed at JSU, they'll win almost all their games next year. At JSU, they won 11-1 the following year, and then 12-0 the year after that. So I expect them to win a lot of games next year. We'll just have to wait and see. But that's my evaluation of the team. They were good on offense, except for the line. They had way too many sacks, way too many penalties. The defense improved over the season and got better. And they did some things well. They did turnovers very well. They did some other things very poorly. They gave up way too many gash yards. But they didn't give up a tremendous amount of points. They gave up a lot of yardage, but not points. And that's what a lot of people would call a bend, not break defense. And I think that's what they'll be next year as well. So we'll see. I don't know. There'll probably be some coaching changes. Who knows which ones will still be there and which will be gone. But I think the team will definitely be much improved next year over this year, have a much higher win total, and they'll go to a bowl game for sure. So those are my thoughts. Put your comments below. Let me know if you agree or disagree. But you can't argue with the stats. Dillon is a good running back, and he's proven that. Running between the tackles, he's proven it. So don't tell me he's not. And don't give me this baloney about daddy ball and how Ryan Staub is a better quarterback than Shedeur. That's just flat out wrong based on the statistics. Shedeur was one of the best quarterbacks in the NCAA. Remember, there's 133 teams, and he was ranked way up near the top with some of the best. And he was playing behind a line that couldn't block for him, and that he got constantly beat up to the point where he couldn't even play in the last game. So don't forget that. As always, I pray that you'll be abundant, that you'll live a long life, that you'll be healthy, and that God will keep you safe, and that He'll do the same for every person that you love. And I pray that you'll be anxious for nothing, but in all things, through prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, you'll let your requests be made known to God. And the peace that passes all understanding will keep your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. This is the Vietnam Era Vet out.